Hello, my name is Smart Israel. I'm a Nigerian who came to Rwanda to school and ended up starting a business. I've built an agri-tech company that designs and deploys portable hydroponic systems, which is new and unconventional. I came to Rwanda, saw a gap, and ended up filling it. This is my journey. Generally, as a student and as a founder, my experience coming here, I think it has been an uphill because first, there's a challenge of the language barrier with interacting with people generally. And so the day-to-day activities at the beginning is a little bit limiting. But then as you interact with people, I think it's easier to then communicate because you are able to pick the basic things you need for survival, and that has been the experience. In terms of challenges, I would say, I don't think it's a challenge, but I think it's something every founder should find as an opportunity or something to learn from. It's the fact that whenever you're in an environment, and this is not just unique to Rwanda, you need a local within the team to be able to move things around for you, to be able to communicate effectively, because language is powerful. People only understand what you say, they don't understand what you think. And so getting a local on the team was something I initially struggled with, but at certain points in time, was able to balance out all the challenges we face within the company. I think Smartel has evolved from what it was in Nigeria to what it is currently. And when I talk about it from the point of view of someone who has a business in Rwanda, I talk about it from something fairly unique and completely different. And I think the question about how I started from Rwanda specifically is particularly unique to what we do here. And so first it started from discussing about the idea of what I used to do previously before coming to Rwanda. And I spoke about with a few friends who were also passionate about building sustainable businesses. But more importantly, everyone I spoke to was really passionate about agriculture. And so starting it here in Rwanda was like starting everything from afresh. It was like just having an idea and now you have to build from scratch. And so the first thing was to register the business. I remember doing that in 6 hours, and that's one of the things I applaud the Rwandan ecosystem for, the flexibility to be able to register your business within a short period of time. And then we started prototyping, and that particularly came from money we used from our pockets and contributions to start building something really, really interesting. One thing that has changed my journey significantly was the Hunger Pitch Fest. I came in 2022, registered the business in September, and then I applied for the Hunger Pitch Fest in October, and I qualified together with my team. I think it's one of the highlights of our business generally because that was the starting point for us. We got business support through the 2 weeks boot camp we got from being one of the top 25 qualifiers. And then from the boot camp, we got support and mentorship, and that was where it took off. From there, we're able to build a solid prototype, which people liked. Then the takeoff in terms of financial investment would be from the Circular Economy Investment Fund that we got specifically from the African Leadership University. That was the takeoff journey in terms of finance, and then it just took off generally. So what we do basically is we design portable hydroponic systems for smallholder farmers and also for households. The reason why it's important is because when we talk about food insecurity most of the time, people see it from the point of lack of availability of food, but there are many expressions of food insecurity, like high cost of food in the market. These are also forms of expressions of food insecurity. It's not just the absence of food generally. And so that particular point was a problem we really needed to solve because so many people needed to grow fresh food at home. So many people needed to know that they are growing their own food, and because it's quite cheaper. And so that was the gap we're filling in the market. I would say at the beginning, the cost for our product might be a little bit high, but as you go on in time, it flattens out and you see the benefit of why the system works. Last year, we diversified into growing fodder for animal feed, and I think that's the general overview of my experience starting in Rwanda and where we are so far with Smartel. There are so many reasons why I chose hydroponics specifically. Chief among them is the fact that I'm very big on climate, and so most traditional farming practices really have an impact on the environment in terms of CO2 emissions and so many other byproducts of the impacts of traditional farming like soil degradation. And so the first pain point I really wanted to address was how are we able to create sustainable agricultural systems that positively have an impact on our environment. And so because climate change was a point I was looking at, the first was what forms of agricultural practices can we carry out that reduces negative environmental impacts on the climate. That's the first. The second was how can we provide sustainable food systems that is not just efficient but also have more yield in terms of output for the users. And so all fingers at that time was pointing towards hydroponic system as what we could do. And I think the unique thing is we don't just stop at hydroponic systems, we integrate smart technologies within the system to ensure optimal efficiency within the system. So in terms of the nutrient content, how are you able to measure the nutrient content within the system, plant defects, and efficiency using smart irrigation. So those are the combination, and this is why we went in the direction of hydroponics. In terms of the initial challenge with the product, now not just business experience generally as an individual, I think the first is the adoption rate of it was significantly low because many people didn't know about hydroponics. I mean, I was fortunate enough to have a few players in the market like Ezaneza and Yin at the time when we started building our product, but the model in which they built their system was not such that people had to know about the system because they essentially grow produce. What we do is to sell the system, and so we had the hurdle of having to market a lot by telling people this is what a hydroponic system is, this is how a hydroponic system functions, these are the benefits of a hydroponic system, then this are now the benefits of our hydroponic system. So those were the initial challenges in terms of adoption. You had to put lots of money into marketing efforts and telling people about it. I think building Smartel in itself for me has been a fulfilling journey because it takes courage, but also it takes a great team to build something from an idea, as it were in Rwanda at the time, to something physically that people could engage with. And so the first moment of fulfillment for me was putting together the team who could be able to execute the things that we wanted them to do. So that was the first. But in terms of success stories generally, I've had the opportunity to travel out to the US to speak about climate systems and building sustainable food systems on the African continent. I think those were highlights that reminded me of why we do what we do at Smartel. I've also had the opportunity to partner with the World Food Program. We're currently in a one-year partnership with them where we are training 3,000 smallholder farmers and building up to 300 hydroponic systems across Rwanda and also in Nigeria. So that moment when I got the news to work with the World Food Program in their Sprint program, it was an amazing moment for me. I've also had the opportunity to be awarded the Young Environment Ambassadors Award by Bestseller and other numerous recognitions from the United Nations. So those bits of points in my life where I got recognitions were highlights that reminded me that we're on the right track and we're doing something incredible. Before we started, we're focused on hydroponics for horticulture farming particularly, but then the way I see Smartel contributing to communal growth in terms of its economic impacts by employing people or having positive impacts in terms of job creation is through what we recently introduced in 2024 for fodder. So we moved from just horticulture to providing systems where you're able to grow fodder for animal feed, and it's very needful. The reason why I think it has significantly impacted people is because there are so many people within the districts, different districts in Rwanda who are cattle rearers, and so we've started reaching out to a few of them. We currently have up to 3 of the cattle rearer farmers who own our system and who are able to feed their animal using our fodder. And so the impact of that is it increases milk production for their cattle. It also increases the size of cattle, And so what that means is more income for them. But what we are trying to do at the moment is to ensure that we build these systems and employ people who are able to grow the fodder and sell it. So it's more like a revenue model where we rent the system out, and you could imagine the ripple effect it will create in terms of job creation. We've just started now. We've created maybe just about 5 employments outside of Smartel, but I think we can do a lot more. I think looking back at my journey, the only thing I would have done differently would be to start early. I do not regret the mistakes I've made. I do not regret some of the challenges we faced. I think those are all part of the challenges of building something tangible that would last for a very long period of time. And as with everything, you would need to think around before you find the bull's eye in whatever you do. So I think I would start early, and I'll put in a lot more effort and do it aggressively, but I have no regrets building what we've built so far. I think some of the mistakes I have made, and also Smartel as a team, would probably be, hiring people because we think they have the skills to execute without necessarily the passion or the commitment to do so. It's really important because when you just go for skills, there are so many things you miss out. And so at certain points, we had to drop people within the core team and just general employees because we felt like the commitment was not there. So if we're to go back, would be more meticulous in terms of hiring people. We'll look for committed people. Also we'll look for people who are determined to make things work, not just people who have the skills. My advice to every young person out there is that at every point in your life, you always look back and ask yourself, what did I do? And the most important thing is not going to be whether or not it succeeds. The most important thing is if you tried your best and if you give it your all. So if you're thinking of starting something out there, the first thing you should think about is not whether it will succeed or not, is if you can give your best to it. And if your answer is yes, then go for it. This is the most important period of your life. What you would do now will determine the next phase of your life. And it is important for you to have a solid blueprint as you go.